And we're going to begin with that slew of new measures announced today by the federal government. Prime Minister Mark Carney says they will help transform Canada's economy and combat U.S. tariffs. First up, a Buy Canadian mandate, requiring the government to use Canadian suppliers for federal contracts. For businesses, both big and small, there are new loans and financing measures to help them deal with the impact of tariffs. And for workers, new skills training for up to 50,000 people and additional help to connect them to new jobs. And there's also relief for the most hard-hit industries, including the auto sector, as Carney hits pause on the government's electric vehicle mandate. And there's $370 million in production incentives for canola farmers facing Chinese tariffs. Carney said the new measures today turn challenges into opportunities for the Canadian economy.
What's going on is not a transition, it's a rupture. And its effect will be profound. And that's why we're charting an economic strategy to move our country forward, from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity.
Mélanie Joly is the Minister of Industry, and she joins me now. Minister, thank you for making the time on a busy day. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
There was a lot there today, but it comes on a day when the country got a bad jobs report, losing 66,000 jobs and unemployment going over 7%. So I want to start, if I can, with the support you outlined for workers. There's a reskilling package for up to 50,000 people. Does that mean you're expecting 50,000 people could lose their jobs or be forced to change their jobs because of what's happening?
So I think it's important to bear in mind that what we announced today is a very pragmatic way of seeing how things are evolving in the world and with the trade system in the world. And why am I saying that is it is now clear that the U.S. Wants to go ahead with tariffs against countries in the world, and that many countries right now are not necessarily abiding by the free trade rules. So that's creating a lot of instability. And we're at a moment of rupture with that free trade system that we have known for decades. So we have to be ready because, of course, it comes with disruption. It comes with the fact that businesses cannot take the same type of decision as they took for years based on geopolitics that were stable. No. And so what we're doing today is not only are we reacting now for what we're dealing with definitely the trade tariffs against key sectors, but we're laying down the foundation for the future prosperity of Canada. And so we want to make sure that we're ready. So we're not waiting for things to go badly. We're in action mode. We come up with an EI flexible approach, and also we're coming up with rescaling packages for workers. We're coming up with an important $5 billion strategic response fund for businesses in the affected sectors, but also with all other sectors. We're coming up with a Buy Canadian policy at a time where protectionism is a real thing. So that's what you're seeing the government doing.
But the 50,000 jobs, Minister, the 50,000 number.
That's what you're seeing, the government of Canada doing right now is really to be able to prepare Canadians for what's happening. Now, for 50,000, I take your point regarding the job numbers this morning. I read the news at the same time as you did, and that's why we will be there for Canadian workers. But we know that there are things we can't control in life, and clearly geopolitics right now we can't control. But what we can control, and that's what we're working on, is to have major projects across the country, is to make sure that we're buying Canadian, is to make sure that we're able to invest in the defense sector to create jobs in aerospace and shipyards across the country. So that's our plan, and that's what we'll continue to do.
But the 50,000 number, I mean, I'm presuming you didn't pull that out of thin air. There's an analysis somewhere that says this is the size and scale of the need. So beyond what we're already seeing, I mean, what does that mean? There's another 50,000 jobs you're worried about here that could be completely lost or fundamentally changed?
No, David, the 50,000 workers you're referring to is the 50,000 people that could have access to a new reskilling program. It's just the fact that that's the capacity of the new program.
Okay.
So let's not, try to make conclusions out of this number. No, it's basically we want to offer as many people as possible and obviously those that have lost their jobs a possibility to be able to have access to new training. That's all.
So you've got the building blocks of a support program that will eventually pave the way for a broader industrial restructuring. But it seems, if you look at it and everything you've just said about the geopolitical context and the disruption in trade, I mean, this is a pretty clear recognition that wherever things land with the United States, Canada is going to be worse off than it was before Donald Trump became president. That the diversification and the resilience stuff is going to take time, but in the straight relationship with the United States, it seems like it is going to be less profitable and less secure.
Well, so we still have the best deal on earth right now, with 85% of our products being exported to the U.S. being tariff-free. So that's the first point. Second point is we're still, of course, in active negotiations with the White House to find sectoral tariffs, because we know that the steel, aluminum workers, the ones that are affecting the auto industry, tariffs as well, copper, lumber.
Right.
All these sectors are affected by tariffs. We're working on deals for all these sectors, but meanwhile, we are still over dependent on the US. We still have to reduce our dependency. We have to pivot by creating a stronger domestic market in the country, maybe through defense industries. When I say defense, I refer to aerospace, for example. I refer to also shipyards, et cetera, et cetera. Or through building more homes. And that's definitely a plan on housing that is coming very soon with Build Canada Homes, which will be a new agency we'll be creating and announcing in the next month. And also with the facts that we're coming up with major projects for different regions across the country.
You know, for a number of years, a key part of the industrial policy of the Liberal government under the previous Prime Minister was focus on the environmental transition and investing in clean technology. There was an announcement today, a pause of the electric vehicle mandate, and the Prime Minister promised a broader review of climate policies in a new strategy. If we've seen the EV mandate pause, does this mean this broader review, we could see the emissions cap changed, paused, scrapped, altered? Could we see it with tanker bans and other things? I mean, how broad is this going to be, and what could it fundamentally mean?
What I can tell you right now is the EV mandates is a response to two things. First, 25% tariffs against our auto sector is hurting workers. It is hurting our industry. So we have to be pragmatic. This is not a time for ideology. We need to make sure that we help the sector. It's the backbone of Ontario's economy. It's the backbone of Canada's economy. Second, of course, we believe in climate change. Of course, we continue to abide by our goals linked to being net zero by 2050. And that is why we need to find ways to make sure that we either build more EVs in the country, or we also bring more EVs that are more affordable coming from trusted partners around the world. And so that's why we're taking 60 days to make sure that we're able to find ways to address this issue. We'll work with industries, we'll work with environmental groups, but I think that at a time where our auto industry is at 25% tariff, and EV mandates right now are asking them to pay when they're not at the level of sale of EVs. It's just not sustainable to keep the jobs maybe in Alliston or Brampton or again in Cambridge.
No, look, I get the pressure the sector's under, and the automakers and the industry are broadly supportive of this, calling it a good first step. But there's been a lot of reaction from climate groups who see this as a step backwards, and they worry about what other policies could be on the table here. So, I mean, where do things stand on the emissions cap? Where do things stand on the tanker ban? Because there's been a suggestion to do the major projects initiative. Some of these need to go as well. So, should we expect more change on sort of the signature environmental policies of the government?
So the Minister of the Environment, Julie DeBruynson, is working right now on a new climate competitiveness strategy to make sure that as we are building even more our investments in to fight climate change, that Canadian companies can really benefit from it. when you look at it, 9 out of the 100 most important clean tech companies in the world are in Canada, and they're, in the top 10. So I'm just saying that we have a clear advantage, and we don't want to lose it. That's why our climate plan is working, but there needs to be adaptations based on what we're going through in the economy. And, we need to make sure that we provide a form of predictability. We'll work with industries on this. But, I've been hearing the conservative saying that the EV mandates are the reason why the auto sector is going badly. It's so disconnected from the reality. It is because of the decision of the White House that our auto sector is being targeted right now, and that businesses from the D3, from Ford, GM, Stellantis to Honda and Toyota, which whom I'm in contact constantly, are taking decisions by the hour on how they will continue to do business in Canada. And so the threat to the auto sector is real. It has consequences on decisions that business leaders are taking, but I must say also, people in Windsor, people in, Southern Ontario and the GTA that are part of the supply chains, all the small and medium-sized businesses that are working for these really important companies in Oshawa or elsewhere, need to be able to know how we're helping them. So EV mandates is to make sure that they have, liquidity right now, but
Right.
also we're coming up with a strategic response fund of a $5 billion to help the auto sector, and also with help for SMEs through our regional development agencies. For the Southern Ontario, it's FedDev, and that's $1 billion fund.
On the fiscal track, though, part of what you talked about at your cabinet retreat was the need to find some savings in various departments. There's been a 15% reallocation and reduction target set to start rolling out in the next budget. Billions of dollars today on top of billions of dollars in the past. Buy Canadian could mean the inability to go abroad for cheaper options, which could drive up costs. And I'm not criticizing that, because that's just maybe the world we're in now. But all of this, and with the Kuzma review, it seems naive to think it won't be fundamentally changed in some way if Donald Trump gets some of what he wants. How much further can you go on financial supports to drive the restructuring, after taking on the COVID debt and dealing with a more sluggish economy? It seems like real fiscal challenges piling on top of each other.
Well, the budget will be ready in the fall, and Mr. Finance is working on that. I think Canadians are facing tough choices, and I think the government needs to be able to make tough choices at the time where we need to reduce our operational costs, which have been increasing over the past years too much, particularly following the pandemic. And at the same time, we need to invest. And so that's what we'll see. You'll see in the budget that we're doing two things, because the investments will create jobs, and that will keep people employed, and also be able to predict the fact that they can have a career in a sector. So what I'm working on, for example, on the defense industrial strategy, is I heard too many companies saying, we'd rather have contracts than subsidies. We want to make sure that when having a contract, let's say to build planes or submarine parts or etc., we know that that contract will last 3 to 5 years, or potentially even 10 years. And from there, we will be able to drive capital towards our company. We will be able to make the right investments. We'll be able to employ. We'll be able to grow our operations, our footprint across the country. And so through that, you will create growth. That's our goal. And sometimes we know that we can't do everything in Canada. We need to work with partners that are like-minded, that believe also in free trade. And that's why pivoting towards Europe is important. Pivoting towards certain countries in Asia, such as Japan and Korea, is really important. And that's what I did this summer. That's what I did also with the Prime Minister. And that's what I'll continue to do throughout the year.
Okay, I've gone over time, but just on the horizon for this is multi-years. This is multiple years before this restructuring. Like, this is what Canadians should be braced for, that this is the sort of thing that runs into 2026, 2027, 2028, this scale of restructuring at minimum, that kind of time frame.
Well, we're acting now because it's an urgency. There's no time to lose. So that's why we're taking bold actions today. But we can do this. You know, we were able to build the planes and the ships that was required while we were only 11 million during the Second World War. And we did that massively. And when our people came back from the front after the Second World War, what did we do? We built homes like never before. Canadians have been able to be there and to hold together and to do great things in times of challenges. I'm convinced we're able to do that now as well.
Okay, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly, we always appreciate the time. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.